Welcome aboard the news. On our first story, the chairman of the Public Accounts Committee, James Kluche Aveji, has directed that the management of the Bunkpurugu Senior High School is to be sanctioned in accordance with the public procurement law as amended for infractions captured in the 2019 auditor's report. He directed the clerk of the committee to capture the recommendation that the school be sanctioned. Mr. Aveji said this when the school failed to respond satisfactorily to queries made against them when they appeared at the Public Accounts Committee sitting in Tamale. Martina Bugri has more.
The school had been cited for various infractions in the Auditor General 2019 report. The Member of Parliament for the Bawley Bamboy constituency, Yusuf Suleimana, had questioned how the school management procured items without quotation to the tune of 16,005 Ghana cedis. Responding to the query, accountant of the school, Alhassan Sandashani, said at the time of the audit, the quotations were not in the file, but added that they were able to make them available for the auditors.
Yes, at the time of the audit, mostly we filed authentic quotations in the file. So when we came, they were not in the batch. So they asked us to produce them, so it was produced.
My brother, you are speaking on both.
Yes, please.
What you are telling me is that at the time they came to do the audits, yes, these alternative documents were there.
Yes, sir.
And that we didn't file them. I mean, you filed them, and so you could not produce them.
No, we could not produce them. We didn't attach them to the various.
Yes, so if you didn't attach them and they were there, they engaged you. Did you at a point produce these documents to them?
Yes, sir.
And you still captured in this audit report?
I was surprised when they captured it, sir.
But the Member of Parliament for Commander Samuel Atta Mills intervened and asked the auditors who were also at the sitting if the said documents were provided. Following the response from the auditors, Mr. Samuel Atta Mills questioned why Alhassan Sandashani had lied before the committee.
You said we had all the paperwork before the auditors came, but you were surprised that it showed in this report. Do you stand by that statement? Do you stand by that statement that you had all the paperwork ready? No. You withdraw that statement because you sworn to tell the truth. So how will you come and sit here and tell us something that is not true?
We don't, sir. Honorable.
And you apologize to the committee.
I apologize.
You see, you are supposed to know your job. This is not the place that we are coming to get documents. You come and sit in front of a committee of a parliament and you tell us you had all your documents ready. What do you mean have it? That is perjury. That is perjury.
The chairman of the committee, James Kluche Aveji, intervened and prompted the clerk to take note of sanctions the committee was recommending against the school.
Honorable, we brought them after we had selected one to do the activity. When we prepared the file, we forgot to add it to that one, and they were still in the file.
If you don't comply, and said it's an omission, then you blame your brain for letting you forget what you're supposed to do. We told you the last time we were here last year that from 2018 we'll begin to apply the law, and we're beginning with Bunkpurugu. So clerk, take notes. The recommendation is that the management of the school should be sanctioned in accordance with the public procurement law as amended.
Mr. Aveji said he believes with sanctions meted to the latter, it will help reduce these infractions. It
is because that we have not prescribed or we have not applied the law fully. So the thing that they will usually come and come back, the following year it happen again. So if we recommend and this is taken, I'm sure that in future it will reduce the infractions drastically.
Now, the governing New Patriotic Party has raised questions about the Economic Intelligence Unit's prediction of a John Mahama victory in the 2024 elections. The party says, though it welcomes the prediction of the EIU, it is only hanging on the usual assumption that presidential power has been rotating over an 8-year period in the Fourth Republic. The EIU report says public disaffection, the slow pace of improvement in governance, and corruption will leave voters with no choice but to see change. But the MPP, in a statement, says the report's verdict on the effect of John Mahama on the party's chances gives them a major boost. The Director of Elections for the party, Evans Nimako, has been speaking and he admits there are challenges, but the MPP are up to the task and will fix the issues to win the confidence of Ghanaians.
And I will not run away from the fact that there are some challenges in Ghana. And times have never been the same. The whole world, just as was coming from the COVID-19 pandemic, is also experiencing the fallout of the Russia and Ukraine war. And I'll be surprised if discerning and reasonable people will not be looking at these challenges and think that what Ghana is going through is mainly the making of the New Patriotic Party. For us, I can assure you, we've always said the battle is the Lord's. I know when we go into the elections in 2024, a huge majority of the Ghanaian population will be going to their polls and they will decide the way forward for the good people of Ghana. And I can assure you that definitely the people of Ghana will vote for the New Patriotic Party once again.
Well, let's listen to Felix Kwachiofosu, who believes an NDC win is a foregone conclusion.
Despite the accuracy of some of the projections and forecasts that AIU has made, to understand exactly what they do, it's not like they're going to conduct a poll and ask the electorate how they will vote. So this is not a scientific poll. It is essentially political risk analysis, which guides the business decisions of some investors and other businesses. So it's important to get that point. The second point is that the projection they make about the outcome of the 2024 elections is what they call a baseline forecast. So it means that their minimum expectation that no matter what happens in 2024, the MPP will be thrown out of power. So that position does not depend on the candidates that the opposition brings. I am in the NDC, and I can assure you that all things being equal, President Mahama will be on the ballot box. But because of how abysmal the MPP has been and the vastly superior record of the NDC, the Ghanaians are going to throw them out.
But it's interesting that you premise that part of the report that this is not scientific, it's a political risk. There are those who then would say that the first part that you also agree conclusively with could also not be the case.
Well, there has no dispute about the modus operandi of the Economic Intelligence Unit over the years. They have got some predictions right, they have got some wrong. But their predictions have never been based on scientific polling, like you find polling agencies doing. So that is a matter of fact.
But do I find you cherry picking which one suits you?
The point is that there is what you can refer to as visceral gut feeling analysis. So that analysis is spot on. It is on all fours with both scientific and non-scientific forecasts that have been made. Whoever the MPP wants to bring against President Mahama, and President Mahama is streets ahead of them as far as the 2024 election outcome is concerned.
This report notwithstanding, the NDC has no plans of presenting a fresh presidential candidate. From what you say, Mr. John Dramani Mahama is the man for the next election.
Well, I think that President Mahama resonates across the rank and file of the NDC. Everybody knows that he has a stellar track record, which completely dwarfs anything the MPP has to offer. So on that premise alone, if you have a candidate who has a proven track record, has performed before in the position that he is seeking, and who has performed creditably in a just-ended elections, you don't waste time and resources going to reinvent the wheel. When you can only correct whatever slippages occurred in the previous elections in order to present a more formidable front. So I think that from even a purely common sense standpoint, it does not make sense to go and change a candidate who did so well.
Now, government's appointee in charge of government's land reclamation, Clement Jatto, has discredited claims by residents of Mimpasem in the Ayawaso Wogon municipality of demolition exercise in the area. According to him, government is of the intention of causing encroached residents to regularize their property.
Government's intention is to reclaim the unencumbered portions of the land. Because residents here have heard that government intends to reclaim the unencumbered portions, they are rushing to develop the land. So we are here just to stop them from developing the unencumbered portions. Then everybody that has got property here is also advised to go to Lands Commission to regularize. I will reserve other comments for the Lands Minister or the Lands Commission to actually come up with. But I want to say, nobody is touching anybody's building here. Nobody is supposed to touch completed buildings that people are living inside. No. But if you see people doing skirmishes of foundations and what have you, we're pulling everything down. And fence walls around unencumbered portions of the land, we're pulling that one too down. So I will advise the public, especially those who have properties here, not to resist this. Because I've already heard people have gone for Asafo or Langards to prevent the exercise. They should desist from it so that all of us can live in peace over here.
Now, Upper West Regional Director of Health Services, Dr. Damien Pungwiri, has stated that one of the terrible mistakes that health workers, respectable nurses and midwives made in the past was to own houses before they went to retirement. Well, he noted that because of their inability to have houses of their own, they felt reluctant to leave their official bungalows. And when they were forcefully evicted, it sometimes led to stress and possible death. Dr. Damien Pungwiri, speaking at the national launch of the Land and Housing Scheme for the Union of Professional Nurses and Midwives, Ghana, at Sanchigen in the Wa municipality, urged health workers not to repeat the same mistakes, but rather start investing for houses ahead of their retirement. JoyNews Upper West correspondent Rafiq Salam reports from Sanjika.
Those statistics from the 2020 Population and Housing Census has revealed that the country's housing deficit has reduced from 2.8 million to 1.8 million, which is pegged at 33%. Government and other stakeholders in the country are of the firm belief that more needs to be done in order to reduce it to the barest minimum. The housing deficit in the country has led to the refusal of some workers posted to areas where their services are needed. On the other hand, most workers who are on retirement are often reluctant to move out of their official bungalows allocated to them, ending in a tangle between them and the housing authorities. Concerned about the plight of their members, Union of Professional Nurses and Midwives Ghana, UPNMG, acquired 38 acres of land at Sanchiga in the Wa municipality for its land and housing scheme. President of the UPNMG, Maxwell Odroyebo, noted that the union is not only helping members to acquire their own houses, but also supporting the government to help provide shelter for its citizens as well.
Today, we're gathered here to launch our land and housing scheme. It is heartwarming to know that this is being launched in the Upper West region, one of the regions that has embraced UPNMG and its policies wholeheartedly. This was the first region to acquire a regional office, so it is not surprising that we are here to launch the land and housing scheme. I am optimistic. The first building on this land will be the UPNMG clinic and the UPNMG regional office complex. In the Maslow's hierarchy of needs, psychological needs, which include air, water, food, clothing, and shelter, form the base of the pyramid. So in acquiring the plot of land and eventually helping nurses and midwives to build their own houses, we are not only helping our members, but also supporting the government to achieve its objective of providing shelter for its citizens, which is one of the basic necessities of life. This does go beyond unionism, but transcends to helping the country as a whole.
Powers Regional Director of Health Services, Dr. Damien Poyiri, was grateful to the UPNMG for the initiative, stating that it will ease the frustration and burden that workers go through on retirement.
Many of our senior colleagues made terrible mistakes and they are regretting. There are some who have gone on retirement and they are still occupying government bungalows. We want them to move out so that we can get staff to occupy. But they don't have any place. They didn't prepare for retirement. And because of that, they are stranded. And when you force them to go out within a very short time, stress, and then they lose their lives. So the best time to start investing in your retirement is to begin the very first time you get your salary, so that you begin to think about where you are going to settle. And Wa is a big place. If you intend to settle in Wa, the best is to acquire a plot of land, and then you develop it gradually. And by the time you reach 40, 45, at least you have your decent place, so that you don't wait to use your retirement benefit to start looking for accommodation. So I want to once again encourage all of you, take advantage of this offer and get a plot of land.
Principal of Nursing Training, while Dr. George Signutomi, who chaired the launch, urged nurses and midwives to exhibit a high sense of professionalism and discipline in their field of work. Reporting for JoyNews,
Well, it's been said on many occasions that the church should be a catalyst for development and progress, especially in Ghana, where the 2021 census revealed that 21.9 million people, representing 71.3% of the population, profess Christianity. Coordinator of a national development campaign dubbed Isaka Project, Maxwell Inkum, says the church should foster development if Christians are equipped with the needed tools and knowledge to be agents of change.
Refined human resources produce effective and efficient resource person. So if the person is coming from the church or an entrepreneur or a sports, whichever area you are coming from, when you are helped to discover yourself, we help you to develop these abilities and talent, then you become a refined and properly equipped and empowered human resource for society. So if the person finds himself in the business world, in the sports world, in the religious environment, he will not just do whatever he or she does just because he or she is doing it, but he does it with proper orientation and with skills and well-empowered personality. We believe that when the youth come and they make discoveries of themselves, it will first of all change the way they think about life. It will give them focus, and it will engage them so they can know the right way to channel their energies. And we believe that certain areas can create employment for people in the area of sports, in the area of entertainment. These people can be well developed and it can reduce the unemployment in the nation. We believe that when people are engaged in whatever area positively, it also reduces crime in society. So first of all, it will reduce employment. We will have a refined human resource that can channel their energies properly. It can also reduce crime. And the corporate world can also have young men and women who are focused, who are directional, who are purposeful, who know what they're about.
Well, that is how we end the AM News. But up next, we bring you the news review, and we're going to be talking about very topical matters. Will the E-levy be implemented on the 1st of May with a motion that has been put before the Supreme Court? We'll tell you more about that. Stay. Thank you for staying with us. Time now for the news review. We're getting into the major stories in the newspapers this morning. We're joined by political scientist and director for the Center for European Studies, Dr. Kwame Asante, who joins the conversation. And Doc, a very good morning to you if you can hear me. All right. We'll get to Dr. Kwame Asah-Asante shortly. He has been with us. But let's start with the Daily Graphic newspaper. Agbogbloshie redevelopment scheme ready. And a proposed redevelopment scheme has been developed for the land on which the demolished Agbogbloshie market in Accra was situated. You remember? I was there reporting when the onion sellers and others were moved. Intended to give the area a facelift, the scheme is yet to be submitted to the seat of government, that is the Jubilee House, for further suggestions, inputs, and approval. In the meantime, there was a contractor on site erecting a fence to secure the land. While awaiting approval from the Jubilee House, the contractor, who had already gone through the Public Procurement Authority, has started digging the foundation for the fence wall. Throwing light on the proposed redevelopment, the Greater Accra Regional Minister Henry Quartey told the Daily Graphic that the overall plan was to bring immense life to the area. And so there are pictures here of what the redeveloped site would look like. There's also CBI Ghana building world's largest calcined clay cement plant. And interesting, 2 stories on page 13 that I'll just be taking a look at. Publishers conniving to print textbooks offshore. That's the Printers Association crying out. And the economic challenges could affect the MPP's chances. That's according to the Economist Intelligence Unit. Let's turn to page 13 for those stories very quickly. So publishers conniving to print textbooks offshore. You know, we've been talking about the fact that local publishers should be given a chunk, if not all of some publishing rights when it comes to government publications and all of that. There are so many things that have been discussed when it comes to the publishing of textbooks for pupils and students. Well, here's an interesting twist. The Ghana Printers and Paper Converters Association has raised a red flag over attempts by some publishers in connivance with local printers to source the printing of government textbooks to printers outside the country. The association says there is evidence that some foreign printers are already in the country contacting publishers and printers with juicy packages to take up the printing of the books in their countries. In an interview with the Daily Graphic yesterday, the executive director of the GPPCA, William Turkson, reiterated the need for government to step up its control mechanisms to ensure that publishers contracted to get the textbooks printed locally did not sneak out of the country to execute the job. So you see the circumstances, and we know, I mean, in China, in India, in other parts of the world, a lot of people right here in Ghana, whether they're writing fiction, non-fiction, textbooks, other works, they reach out to these people. It is cheaper owing to the market controls in a place like China, owing to the low cost of labor, for example. But we're also trying to do this for specific reasons to boost our own publishing industry. Yet some of the very people who are involved, who are going to benefit, are seeking juicier deals from publishers elsewhere. It sort of smacks of what we see when it comes to cocoa and even gold. And that is why in some years you would see that India can say we've exported X amount of gold from Ghana. Dubai, the United Arab Emirates, would say we've exported or we've imported so much gold from Ghana. Yet Ghana's total gold export would not even match up to what one country claims it imported from our country. So very interesting times. Smuggling is real. And in this instance, we're having even the publishing of books being smuggled in a way. And it would be disastrous if government is not able to clamp down on this situation to ensure that the right things are done. Else, at the end, we would have lost big time and the goal will not be achieved, just as with many policies that we've rolled out in this country. The other story bodes on politics. Economic challenges could affect the MPP's chances. And we've heard from both sides, the MPP and the NDC. We'll discourse on this today. But here's the interesting picture that is painted. Public dissatisfaction with economic challenges, the slow pace of development, and the tackling of corruption are likely to inhibit the chances of the governing New Patriotic Party winning the 2024 presidential election, the London-based Economist Intelligence Unit has predicted. Now, the EIU has, therefore, predicted that the opposition National Democratic Congress stands a reasonable chance of winning the 2024 elections. Stands a reasonable chance of winning the 2024 elections due to the quest of the electorate to seek change in the face of the challenges. The report, however, said it expected the NDC to come out with a fresh candidate other than former President John Dramani Mahama to revitalize its prospects. Let me just focus on those points as I usher in political scientist Dr. Kwame Asa-Asante. Doc, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you loud and clear.
Great.
Good morning.
Good morning. How's your Wednesday going so far?
Very perfect. I'm cool and very energetic.
We thank God for life. Right. So let's start with this big issue. I'm sure you followed the AIU and what it's been saying. Just to break down what it said, just to reiterate. It says there is public dissatisfaction with the economic management, economic challenges that we are seeing, the slow pace of development and the poor tackling of corruption, for which reason the fortunes of the MPP come election 2024 are going to be affected, are going to be impacted. And for which reason, again, it says the NDC stands a reasonable chance of winning the 2024 elections. However, it feels the NDC must jettison John Dramani Mahama in order to revitalize its prospects. How do you find all of this? Because this EIU has got it wrong in the past. It has also got it right in the past. How do you analyze all of this?
Yes, a very interesting study or report that has been released, but it gives us food for thought.
Right.
One is that, look, it is telling the government that, look, all is not well. They need to get their acts together and then deal with certain basics that influence the choice of voters, particularly the economy. You need to fix it because one of the variables that determine voter choices, tradition, political parties, that the economy, first and foremost, when they are making political choices.
Right.
The next issue that they talk about is issue of infrastructure development, which the Constitution makes it abundantly clear. And this is the second is issue of corruption, which if you look at the time Nana Akufo-Addo entered compared to that of John Mahama, Mahama started 2013, Nana Akufo-Addo 2017. Mahama left 2016, Nana finished the first tenure in 2020. If you look at the Transparency International report, it gives you an idea that the NDC manage corruption far better than the MPP. All these things are factors that influence voter choices. So it tells you that the government needs to up its game, work very hard, otherwise they are going to have their fingers bent. It also gives you, apart from that, it gives you an indication that if NDC is able to work very hard, they are going to be crowned, victorious in the election that is about to come in 2 years' time. That aspect which suggests that, look, John Mahama needs to be changed if NDC want to maintain power is a very interesting one, in the sense that who gave John Mahama no chance in the last election? But look at the votes that he pulled. He virtually won the election. So for me, if you look at that, just oppose it on factors such as reports that some of us have seen within the NDC cycles, some of the studies that we have chanced upon. There is nobody within NDC who can compete with John Mahama and win. That would be a miracle. But that is, to be fair to the party, and Mahama himself has not said that he's going to contest, so let's wait and see. But it tells you that these type of study must be taken, and political parties must take them in their strides as a critical pointer to guide them in the conduct. That is not to say that you have the report favors you, so you have won, and that you can can fold your arms and then sit down without doing anything. That will be a difficult thing to do, and it will not inure to the benefit of any party that takes that decision.
So Doc,
also it tells you that parties must work very well, very hard if they want to maintain power. For instance, the MPP. This is not a time to engage in rancor, bickering within the party and jostling for position. It's a time to work and support the government if they really want to break the eight. Otherwise, they are likely to break the eight in the negative manner.
Very quickly on this point. Now, you say that considering the times, the NDC would have fared better in terms of managing the economy than the MPP. But we had at the helm of affairs someone who was vilified, John Dramani Mahama. Do you feel, you say that basically right now he is the front runner without much opposition in the NDC as far as the flag bearership position is concerned. But the EIU says that the best chance of the NDC is if they jettison Mahama. What do you think about that? Should he put himself forward since he's not fully declared it? Do you think it would impact the chances of the NDC?
I think that aspect of the report is a very controversial one because
controversial.
Very controversial because if you look closely to the NDC and their reports and their studies and all that,
right,
there's no doubt in mind that Mahama is the front runner. There is nobody who can really compete in this. Let us remember that politics is a contest of ideas and referendum of your work.
Right.
Which work would that candidate stand on to compete or to canvass for vote? You need works like Rawlings, that of Professor Mills, and then Mahama himself. And if he, the creator of all the things that you are going to compete with using those resources, and he is the one competing, then I'm afraid you are not likely to win the election. Apart from that, if you go to the rank and file, they hold Mahama dear to their hearts. And that, for me, I have no doubt in my mind that when election is conducted today within the NDC, he will crown victorious.
Let's quickly look at this story, and I'm just taking the headline. Ensure every boat has life jackets. Togbega Jekli urges boat owners. That's the paramount chief of the Bator traditional area who has entreated members of the Boat Owners Association to ensure that every commercial boat has enough life jackets on board. We heard of that unfortunate incident in recent times where some people lost their lives, quite a number of them. And I feel this is only, fair. This is only right. It's so interesting that we have a lot of boats operating, canoes and others, without any life jackets across our country. There are portions of the country where you must necessarily cross water bodies. No life jackets and all of that. And people keep dying. What a country. What a country we're in.
Very sad, because this is not the first time we are hearing such a gory tale of some of these accidents. And the state seems to be very incapable of dealing with the problem. It's very, very unfortunate. We also acknowledge the fact that there have been efforts to deal with some of the linking problems, such as the stamps that you have in the water and all that.
Right.
But if you look at what is happening now, then you realize that more efforts need to be added to this process so that make traveling on water and the sea and all those rivers very safe for our people. Authorities and up their game if they really in them.
This is a very sad development, and since you're a lecturer, you're an academic, I just thought I would rope it in. Lecturer in court for slashing son with machete. It's too early in the morning. What I'm looking at right now is making my stomach churn. If you look at what I believe is the left arm of this boy, it is just tragic. 14-year-old, now a lecturer at the School of Hygiene, Samson Kwe Agbavito, who allegedly slashed his 14-year-old son repeatedly with a machete and left him to his fate, was arraigned before court last Thursday. I see at least 3 slashes here, and they are deep. Oh, my word. The plea of Agbavito, 41, who is charged with causing unlawful harm and the use of an offensive weapon, was not taken when he appeared at the Ho District Court 2. Now, what are the facts? Inspector Rejoice Kassa told the court, presided over by Mr. Yao Akosa Ejariampong, Amwapong, that the accused carried out the act on the child as punishment for a wrongdoing in school. So, to summarize, the child supposedly smeared sanitizer on someone's face. You know what children do. He was prevented from sitting his exams. On the back of that, his father was infuriated and slashed him. I mean, how is that any logical, justifiable punishment? Doc, this breaks my heart. You should look at page 26 of the Daily Graphic. It's heartbreaking.
Very sad story. We don't want to know and hear this because look, this is a difficult story. This is a difficult story. But the good news is that the case is at the proper forum where it will be dealt with appropriately. So let's wait for the court to decide that we can also come in and run the necessary commentary, right? But it's a sad story that I'm hearing today. Yes.
Let's do landlords, tenants face prosecution for failing to clean frontage. That we're on the Ghanaian Times newspaper now. Foodstuff prices escalate on markets, and this is becoming a very dire situation. That's on page 16. Tricky AFCON 2023 draw for Black Stars, and Costa Rica VIP UNFPA head arrive in Ghana for Diaspora Forum. All of those stories there. But when you look at the tricky AFCON 2023 draw for the Black Stars, you would see quite some information. Ghana's Black Stars have been handed a tricky AFCON 2023 qualifying Group E. Let me just give you a fair idea of what to expect. There's Ghana, there's Angola, perennial troublemakers, Madagascar, and the Central African Republic. Those are the teams we're going to be facing in the qualifiers. The Daily Guide newspaper now. Minority files injunction against E-levy. Let's take a quick swipe at that, Doc. Interesting, because the E-levy was supposed to take off on May the 1st. Now, this is going to be looked at by the Apex Court on May the 4th, 3 days after the E-levy should have taken off. And when you look at what they are looking at, the procedures, the processes that culminated in the passage of the bill into law, what do you foresee and how problematic could this be for government in terms of running our economy?
Yeah, please, if you can take the question again, there was a disturbance from my phone. So right. If I missed the tail end of your question, yeah. Right,
so I'm saying how problematic do you feel this could be now that the E-levy is going to be constrained, so to speak, until the 4th, when we'll find out whether the Apex Court will allow it to go through or whether the injunction will be imposed?
NDC has filed that in court. We are waiting for, I think on the 4th, for the court to hear this. You know my position. Let us be patient. Let's wait. The court will make a determination and we'll follow. I always want to respect the position of the law when it comes to such issues so that we can have an elaborate discussion. So let us wait. The court will deal with that and then we'll come in.
But what do you think could be the repercussions if the court says due process wasn't followed? We're supposed to have implemented this at the tail end of last year. It didn't happen. January this year, didn't happen. We're in May. If May doesn't happen, I mean, it could be that they could go through the right processes moving on. But how do you feel this could impact us? Remember, we're looking at 6.9 billion. We've dropped it to between 4.4 to 5 billion. I mean, it could just mean disaster, couldn't it?
We are looking at it from various perspectives, but I think we can still be patient. Let the court decide, and then we can come in. Because for what maybe we have in mind that it will go this direction, it may have a different direction, and that our analysis will be thrown overboard. So I want to urge that we keep our cool and wait for the court.
Here's an interesting bit, Doc, in the Daily Guide newspaper, to wrap with that paper. Russia replies Ghana on agric claims. This is very interesting because in recent times we've heard the likes of Suleiman Abrahima, Executive Director for the Media Foundation for West Africa, accuse the Ministry of Food and Agriculture that the minister has been churning out a lot of false information. Well, listen to this. The Russian government, through its embassy in Ghana, has responded to claims that its actions in Ukraine are to be blamed for the current agriculture challenges. The Russian embassy, in a post on its Twitter handle, raised concerns over the tagging of the country as responsible for the negative trends in agriculture markets, gloomy prospects in terms of access to food, and huge losses to farmers. It said the current hardship in the agricultural space is not a result of happenings within the last 2 months, but due to a steady trend of happenings on the global stage in the last 2 years, and in Ghana specifically. Any reactions?
Yes. It's very interesting that Media Foundation is taking the minister on. That is the way to go. Because you see, as a public figure, you owe it a duty to give us unbiased, proper information so that it will be part of the process of governance.
Right.
Why is it that we are getting something that is different from what is this? What is more is what the Russian embassy has come out with, that look, all that you are blaming the country for is not the case, because there are other factors that has contributed to this problem that we have on hand. I believe that the minister will take note of this and then make sure that he is able to feed us with what information that is right and proper. It is part of the good governance agenda that whatever you give it to us must be what? Completely truthful, and then you don't need to hide anything from us. Transparency is the word if you want to govern with the principle of good governance.
On the other hand, interestingly, the Finder newspaper, as it reports, World Bank cuts growth forecast to 3.2%, citing Russia-Ukraine war, COVID-19 surge in China. Interesting times. There's also over 7,181 ex-convicts returned to prison in 5 years, over 1,000 cases recorded each year. Let's look at the Daily Dispatch quickly. There's full EIU 2022 political report on Ghana, and NDC will implode if they lose 2024. That is according to an analyst. We'll be bringing up these in the course of our big stories. The Publisher newspaper, Ursula Owusu takes ICT mentorship to Bono East. Farmers worried over lack of fertilizer as suppliers chase minister for pay. And there's also 3 NDC MPs want a Supreme Court to stop E-levy's implementation. Republic Press, NDC MPs run to Supreme Court to block E-levy. And there's that story as well. Don't blame us for global economic crisis. Russian embassy in Ghana. To wrap the conversation, going to IMF will benefit economy. That's according to the EIU. Maybe that'll be the final bit I put to you, Doc. Going to IMF will benefit the economy. We've vacillated. There's been a ping pong between go to the IMF, do the E-levy, or have a merger of both E-levy and the IMF. The EIU in this latest study also says the best way for Ghana is to go the way of the IMF. Your take as we wrap.
It's an interesting aspect of the conversation, because government has consistently said that it will not go to the IMF,
right,
even before the E-levy was passed. Now that it's passed, I believe that government will still stuck to its guns and then go ahead with its program. All that we want to see that government, after everything, will manage the economic fortunes of this country to make life better for our people. It is not just mere saying it, but doing it is a critical component which government must not lose sight of.
Doc, it's always great catching up with you on a Wednesday morning. Thank you so much for your time, and I wish you the very best of the day and the week.
I'm grateful. And I wish you a good day.
Right. And that is the director for the Center for European Studies at the University of Ghana, Dr. Kwame Asasanti, who joined me. Coming up next, we have sports. We're going to be talking about our tricky Group E for the AFCON qualifiers. And of course, my Manchester United bowed yesterday to Liverpool. All of that up next in sports.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to AM Sports with me, Muftau Nabila Abdullah. Ghana has been handed a tricky draw for the qualifiers for the 2023 African Cup of Nations that will be happening in Cote d'Ivoire next year. The Black Stars, they have been paired in Group E alongside Central African Republic as well as Angola and Madagascar. We have the draw on your screen pretty soon as we go through the entire draw that happened on Tuesday night, and specifically our focus is on the Ghana's group, which is Group E, and the Black Stars, they have Madagascar, Angola and Central African Republic. Central African Republic are quite a tricky opponent because they went all the way to Nigeria and defeated the Super Eagles 1-0 last year. Madagascar had an incredible performance in the 2019 African Cup of Nations. Angola, they have sunk so deep in African football after hosting the 2010 African Cup of Nations. But this group is still a tricky one. Group A, Nigeria, Sierra Leone, Guinea-Bissau, as well as Sao Tome and Principe, as well as Mauritius. There is illegal issues surrounding that these two countries, Sao Tome and Mauritius. Either of them is likely to be out. And Burkina Faso, they are in Group B alongside Cape Verde, Togo, and Eswatini. Then Group C is Cameroon, Kenya, Namibia versus Burundi. Kenya are currently facing a FIFA sanction, but they've been added to a draw temporarily. If FIFA lifts the ban, they'll participate in the qualifiers. But if the ban stays, it means that CAF would have to remove them. Egypt, Guinea, Malawi, and Ethiopia are in Group D. Group F is Algeria, Uganda, Niger, Tanzania. Group G is Mali, Togo, the Gambia, and South Sudan. Group H is Cote d'Ivoire, Zambia, Comoros, Lesotho. Group I is DR Congo, Gabon, Mauritania, and Sudan. Group J is Tunisia, Equatorial Guinea, Libya, Botswana. Group K is Morocco, South Africa, Zimbabwe, Liberia. And Group L is Senegal, Benin, Mozambique, and Rwanda. These are the countries for the African Cup of Nations qualifying draw. Lesotho, Sierra Leone, they are also facing a FIFA ban, but they've been added. If FIFA lifts the ban, they will participate in the qualified. But if FIFA does not, it means that they will also have to be removed from their group. Let's talk about the Black Stars and their participation in this year's FIFA World Cup. And captain of the team, Andre Ayew, says he expects the Ghana Football Association to ensure the best of preparations for the tournament after the 2014 debacle in Brazil. According to him, everyone involved is aware of the mistakes that were made during the World Cup, and he expects the GFA to do better in Qatar.
We should get more numbers. That, I think, would be fair enough. I hope that we get more numbers very soon, hopefully, because the continent deserves it, and it will give us more chances for teams to go further in the tournament.
In 2010, your Ghana World Cup squad profited from solid, focused preparation. In 2014, the complete opposite happened. From these two experiences, what would be your advice to the African teams coming to the World Cup this time? What would you say are the secrets to having a great World Cup for the teams?
I think the World Cup has to be prepared like the way you should prepare an African Cup. It has to be, planned ahead and do the things that you have to do. I believe that we know what, we have to do. We know the mistakes we have done, the good things we have done. I have full confidence in the FA to do the right preparation and the coach. So hopefully everything will be okay and we'll be ready to do a great job.
What are your top 5 countries to win the World Cup?
Well, there are a lot of countries who are good, but you see France, Germany is always there, Brazil is always there. When you have Messi and Cristiano also on a team, they're always there. So it's a lot to see. But you can say an African team also. Senegal are the African champions. There are a lot of teams. I think this World Cup will be more open than it has ever been. There will be more chances for everyone to succeed, because I think every team is better prepared. The African teams, the American teams, when you look at USA, Canada, solid squads. So Spain, till we start the tournament, you will not really be able to see who's going to lead. But I think France has the edge at the moment.
And former Black Stars captain Samoa Gyan has called on Ghanaians to lower their expectations of the team ahead of the World Cup in Qatar. Gyan, who donned the national team colours for 16 years and played at 3 different World Cups, believes the team is relatively young, so demands should not be on the high.
Honestly, I take myself as an example. If I'm a coach and I play football, like my team goes to the field, and we don't create chances enough. If we don't create chances, me, the coach, will be worried. I want my team to create chances and miss. You know, when we miss, we know we will be able to create opportunities and everything, and that is the positive thing. And we have some days that everybody always, it wasn't your day. Create the chances, you know. But when you don't create at all, and then we are watching and you don't create any chance at all, I'll be worried. You understand? You know, for example, before when Black Star is going, you know, this guy will do it, this one will do it. You know, but this is a new generation altogether. You know, sometimes when we are going to play, you don't know where the goals will come from.
Okay.
You know, but it's a generational thing. Somebody will say, 1962 for no, we are there saying 19 way for. So it's a generational thing. But it's a new team that we're building. You know, Ghana is building. You see new faces, young players coming up. You know, it's a new thing. For me, my advice, we should lower our expectations for now. You know, and then build the new team. Because
why should we lower our expectations for now?
Because we know we are Ghana. We have done it before. You know, coming to this level, we are Ghana. But maybe the players involved are not maybe ready enough. So we should give them time, you know, to make sure they get there. You know, when you put pressure, it's very, very difficult. You know, a player going to replace Messi at Barcelona. You know, there's pressure. You know, so the fans have to just...
It means the Black Stars of old was Barcelona's, Messi, and the current players are under pressure to meet the standards of Messi. But let's talk about the Ghana Football Association, which say it will sanction anyone found culpable of maligning the sanctity of their products. The Secretary General of the association, Prosper Harrison Nado, the FA is determined to protect the integrity of their competitions.
Yeah, the thing is that you cannot be in association football and then as and when you conveniently kind of sidestep the stretches. So in Ghana and in our association football, we have stretches for dealing with referees you feel are incompetent, or referees you feel perform below par or took some decision that you feel, in your estimation, are not right. We are one of the countries where we have a formal process, where there's a formal form given to all the clubs that you can fill, and then you complain. We have the match complaint form, and so all the clubs have it. And so the rules are there. When you make allegations that you cannot substantiate, the rules will ring you in. And so all those who have made comments about referees will be charged. In fact, some have been charged already. It's just that maybe the media are not in the know. So let me be clear. Dr. Nyawok Tamaklo, my, did I say, a very big pillar, will be charged. Mr. Akambi will be charged. The coach of the, or have been charged already. The coach of Bechem has been charged in a previous interview. He will be charged again.
And the 7th edition of the annual Interzongo Communities Football Competition, dubbed the Ramadan Cup, has been launched. My colleague Haruna Mubarak was there and filed this report.
It's fasting time, when anything edible is not allowed. Yet the supporters union present, dominated by Muslims, still charged up the atmosphere with this. Since its inception in 2015, the Ramadan Cup has seen participating communities increase from 8 to 28. 4 more than last year's edition.
Between last week and the launch today, we had several communities from across the country asking us that they wanted to be part. We couldn't accommodate all of them, but due to the volume of the request, we had to increase it again from 24 last year to 28. So it's a competition. There is Zongo in every corner of the country. So our vision, by the grace of Allah, is to be able to one day do this event nationwide, so that we have representation representation from almost or all the 16 regions.
The name Ramadan suggests that the competition is associated with Muslims, but authorities here and officials have told me that Christians and other individuals of diverse beliefs are eligible to play once they are selected by their coaches. It is never about faith and religion. It is about Zongo communities and the youth. To the nitty-gritty of the launch, defending champions Kaswa were paired with Temazongo. Other fixtures include Nima, who face Takoradi, Adabraka come up against Mamobi, Yendi take on Ashaiman, and Medina meet Abeka. The competition commences on May 8 at the Fadama AstroTurf Park. 16-year-old Charles Apia, who earned a tag the Kaswa Messi, was adjudged player of the tournament in the 2021 edition. Sports Minister Mustafa Yusuf has urged the various teams to field more young players for a possible breakthrough.
Last year, I was excited young talent, how young talent display, and I also saw players who should have probably been given opportunity to more young players to showcase their talent to the numerous scouts present there. In view of this, I want to make special appeal to all participating teams to consider giving more young talent in this team opportunity to showcase their talent. And this tournament is being watched by scouts and on national platform, and you never know who is watching.
Organizers have entreated all participants to portray good behavior to eliminate the negativity about Zongo. The Ramadan Cup is expected to bond and unite the Zongo communities across the country.
And this is how we wrap up AM Sports here with me, Muftau Nabila Abdaba. You can head on to my joyonline.com and read some more sports stories. The AM show continues right after this.
Welcome back and welcome on AM Business. On the 1st of May, the government will fully implement the electronic levy of 1.5%. Well, of course, now we know that there is that court issue for an injunction. But the motive for this controversial levy, as it were, is to increase tax to GDP and fund various government initiatives. But there could be a risk of entrepreneurs and for them, as well as tech-based startups who say the E-levy will rip them off of their profits. On AM Business today, Charles Aite interrogates the impact the levy may have on these young startups.
It's been 4 years since Selassie Jikunu founded the Delzi Shop, an e-commerce outlet with consumers mainly in the diaspora. But COVID came and her profits tanked.
We've been operating for the past 4 years now, and we've been providing or servicing mostly people in the diaspora with authentic Ghanaian beauty care products. So they visit our website and they place their order, we process it and then deliver it to them. So basically that's what we've been doing. We have a staff strength, before COVID we had a staff strength of about 7. But during COVID we had to lay some of them off, and now we're down to about 5.
Selassie may have survived the ravages of the COVID-19 pandemic, but she fears the introduction of the 1.5% E-levy will prove tough for startups like hers that are heavily dependent on mobile money transactions.
We haven't been able to come up with how we're going to encourage our customers to still use our digital platform. I would say even before it has been accepted, clients have started telling us they will pay on delivery. Whereas we have spent the past 2 to 3 years trying to encourage them to make payments even before delivery. It's like now we're taking 5 steps back after we've taken like 2 steps forward or something. So even last week it was very difficult for my staff and I, the sales lead. She just kept complaining about how now clients are insisting on cash. So it's like we're going back to the cash system, and then it's sort of making it look like efforts down the drain, putting together a website, investing so much money into technology and mobile payments and card payments, and now we have to revert to using cash. It's tough.
Whereas some economists have lauded the electronic transaction levy as a necessary evil, others insist the timing and form of the levy could cripple small enterprises like Selasis that are heavily dependent on electronic transactions. But why and how? I put this question to Dr. John Kwachi, Director of Research at the Institute of Economic Affairs, IEA.
We have consistently said that there are so many loopholes in our tax system, and we have, mentioned them. The exemptions is one, property taxes is one, trade taxes, misinvoicing of trade taxes, transfer pricing, money laundering, and then, of course, we have non-compliance. It's also another area, and there's been estimates, projections that say that if all these loopholes were to be plugged, we could add something like 10 percentage points, to the current, our tax to GDP ratio, which hovers just around 12%. But why these loopholes are not being plugged, that's something that I don't get it. Sometimes it takes a political will to be able to do these things. Because, for example, the tax exemptions bill has been before Parliament. It was placed before Parliament in 2019. I don't know whether it was withdrawn, but government then had the majority to be able to pass it, but it wasn't passed. Now I understand the new bill has been submitted to Parliament. I don't know how easy it's going to be to pass that bill. We have also suggested that this is the time that we should be looking at companies that are making a lot of profit. Even in spite of COVID, in the context of COVID, the mining companies, the oil companies, the telcos, the banks, and everywhere in the world, countries are looking for booming sectors of the economy so that they
Thank you for staying with us, and right now we get into our big stories and 2 major issues we're going to be contemplating. One has to do with the EIU's latest report on what Ghana can look forward to ahead of election 2024. And we're also going to be looking at the E-levy, which may not see the light of day on the 1st of May, as per what we hear, that motion filed at the Apex Court by Mahama Yariga Okujato Ablakwa, and of course minority leader as well. We'll be giving you details of these, but we're joined by our guests who will be helping us dilate on these all-important matters. We have Evans Nimako of the NPP, Director of Research and Elections with the NPP. We also have Dr. Kwapong, Democracy Fellow at the CDD. Gentlemen, a very good morning to you.
Good morning to you too.
I also see Dr. Kobe Mensah. Good morning, Doc.
Good morning. How are you?
I am very well. It's been what? A few months since our last.
Yeah, it's been. Yeah, great to see you, Evans. And hello, John.
Hello, Kobe.
Of course, Dr. Kobe Mensah as well is.
You're becoming the true philosopher.
I'm sure they're referring to your fro and your beard, your Wole Shoyinka Like,
you know?
Right. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for joining. And Dr. Kobe Mensah is a lecturer at the University of Ghana Business School. I would take your initial reactions to the EIU's latest report, 2022 report. We've heard so many things. At a point, the NDC poo-pooed the report, but then they accepted, some others have accepted it, saying this bodes well for our party. It means that by hook or crook, the NPP will lose in 2024. But the NPP side has also said no. It rather points to the fact that we'll win despite the EIU's forecast, especially because the NDC is looking as though it is still going to put Mahama forward. I'll start with you, Dr. Kobe Mensah. What is your reading of this? Because the EIU has got it right in the past. It has also got it wrong in some instances. What's your reading?
Thank you for having me. First of all, I think that the EIU report, frankly, is very weak in its assumptions because you don't even get opportunity to understand the basis that they used for their, assertions, for example. Obviously, when you read it, it tells you, it says that the MPP, because of sluggish growth, and then they refer to governance issues, they refer to low industrialization, they refer to these issues as prompting anti-government sentiment. As a result, the MPP will lose the election. I mean, frankly, there's nothing insight from this particular position. We know that in Ghana, most of the time in the 8 years, people have actually turned the other side. And the reasons why they would turn the other side is non-delivery, according to the people. And so they would change government. So there's no insight in that. Now, I think that it also suggests that although they've proclaimed the NDC winning, they would win, but then with a fresh candidate. Of course, without any merit in terms of what they think the candidate is not suitable. I mean, if you look at the last election, from 2016 and 2020, Mahama had a very huge jump in the votes. And so if you actually make a proclamation that, NDC would win, but with fresh candidate, on what basis are you actually saying that? It doesn't actually make clear in that. And the point is that it's not for a taking that someone, because they've been in government for 8 years, they will lose the election. That is not for a taking. If you look at our system, any party that has come on to win the election after the 8 years of the incumbent have worked for it. They have really worked for it. So if you just sit in London and then make a proclamation of that sort, I think it's very, very weak. And I rather wanted them to actually declare that it was an opinion that they were expressing, and not even a popular opinion, but an opinion that they were expressing because of the language that they used to say NDC would try or should try to revitalize. I mean, if it's any insight at all in terms of research, when they talk about their baseline forecast, if it's a forecast, you must have a certain basis to actually make that proclamation or to make that statement. But not to say that they would try, that completely suggests to me someone's opinion. And if that is the opinion, you have to actually make it clear. Of course, there's nothing wrong with expressing your opinion, but you have to make it clear and bring the justification before we can actually accept that this is a legitimate position, or this is a compelling position for us to accept as logical. But it doesn't. So I think that it is really weak. And I think perhaps they probably could have done a very good job, going into this particular report.
Thank you for that initial premise, Dr. Kobe Mensah. Let me come to Dr. Kwapong briefly on that as well. Dr. Mensah terms it as weak, and in fact, that the analysis is poor. What is your reaction? Is your reading the same?
I just as Dr. Kobe Mensah said, I would be curious as to the basis for that assertion, right? That whilst the NDC has prospects, they expect that they would rethink who the flag bearer is. The other thing too is this is a report from February 2021. So I'll be curious to know the assumptions that fueled that declaration in 2021. And I'm just wondering that between 2021 and 2022, have their basic assumptions that went into that declaration a year ago changed? And would, if they were to give another political outlook and another election watch, will they come to the same conclusion, or will they draw a very different conclusion? But I was reflecting on the report yesterday, and I was saying to myself, perhaps, and like I said, I don't have the benefit of their assumptions and what informed that declaration. But I was saying to myself, well, were they thinking of things like, because of his loss in 2016 and a loss in 2020, and therefore, in their own estimation, 2 subsequent losses therefore should mean that a different candidate. But at the same time, if you look at the former president's performance in the 2016 election compared to the 2020 election and the net gain in votes, then you would also say to yourself, this is not a candidate that one would consider weak. And therefore, again, you would wonder why or what is really informing EIU's position. But then again, like I said, this is a report from February 2021. A year later, I'll be curious to know if they still hold on to that assertion, or whether their assumptions have changed based on their reading of political and economic events that have happened over the last year.
Is that to say, Dr. Kwapong, from where you said that both the MPP and the NDC, who have been jumping all over the place on the back of this report, should hasten slowly and maybe take all of this with a pinch of salt?
Yes, that is what I would say. For whatever it is worth. I mean, I understand the politics of these things, right? If you are MPP and a report is saying the NDC has better prospects if they change their presidential candidate, you would be sort of excited about the prospect that then we want him to win, because then it looks like we can, quote unquote, easily beat him. If you are an internal candidate who wants to contest in the NPP primaries, you might walk away saying to yourself, hey, NDC primary voters, even look at what this report is saying, perhaps you need to rethink, et cetera, et cetera. But I think at the end of the day, for whatever is worth, just like you said, I think we need to take it with a pinch of salt.
Let me come to Evans Nimako on this beat. And your party has been reacting. Yawabena Samoa, Communications Director, has spoken. We've heard from the NDC's end as well. I heard Yawabena Samoa, for example, say that by hook or crook, you would win in 2024, regardless of what the EIU is saying. I want your reactions to that, but I also want you to weave in the fact that we have an unwritten rule, maybe by the people of Ghana, that after 8 years, at least as pertains in our Fourth Republic, you leave and another party comes through. How do you react to what the EIU is saying, how your communications team has reacted, and the templates that we have? 8 years and you are gone.
Thank you very much for having me. I think the philosophers have spoken. And I don't think, and I don't accept that we have any unwritten template. I think that the Fourth Republic Constitution has been very successful to this end. If you check the records in 2008, right, the Patriotic Party came very close. Like the first round, we were leading over 102,000 votes, except that the runoff and then time changed the dynamics. And so, yes, no two elections are the same. Right. And so, if you check the EIU, this is the manner with which they always come out with their reports. They hardly give you the full assumption, because if you assess their report, it's not only on political issues, there are other considerations. So, I have said earlier that as a party, we take it as an advice.
Okay. To
some, it may be positive. To others, it may not. And I'm saying that when the new Patriotic Party won in 2016 and won in 2020, it wasn't because the EIU had published a report but it was because the New Patriotic Party took up a strategy, a system that got closer to the people with enhanced communication strategies in place. We reached out, and the good people saw enough as an alternative that is viable to bring development, to bring a system that will transform the position of Ghana to another level. And so that is exactly what we'll be doing, and we are not resting. And I've said also that, yes, Dr. Kapon has also mentioned it. This is a report that is coming from 2021. And if we are in 2022, or we'll be going to elections in 2024, December 7, the circumstances definitely will never going to be the same. And so we need to see the party is supporting the government fully to develop system that is collective. You'll be kidding yourself not to look at issues beyond the borders of Ghana. It's unfortunate, just as the whole world was coming out of the difficult situation of COVID-19, other issue of war in Russia and Ukraine is having an effect on all economy. So I appreciate the difficulties we are going through, and we are still watching the dynamics. But for EIU, I'm not surprised with the report they put out. I am not, but I'm also not surprised about NDC's position. They've never accepted any report or any finding that put them in event of the day. Is the majority of Ghanaians over.
But to be fair, Evans Nimako, when your party, the MPP, when there are such reports that put you in a bad light, you don't accept it either. I don't recall any report that your party has accepted. In this instance, I was just pointing to your communications director, Yawabena Samoa, and how he has also given, I don't want to call it this, but that's the word that comes, a spin. Just as the NDC members, when I listen to Felix Kwachio-Fosu and others, are also giving it a spin to favor themselves. So I don't see where you're going with that point.
What YB has said is no different from what I'm saying. I'm saying that this is a report that has come up. We take it as an advice. We take steps as a party, notwithstanding the challenges we find ourselves as a country, to do what is needful. And I'm saying that winning election is not dependent only on the report of the EIU. And I said that when we had won in 2016 and 2020, it wasn't because EIU had produced report. Going into elections, Dr. Komensa has said, they produce report is to advise you on how to align your strategies. And I'm saying that come December 2024, the good people of Ghana will see and will decide whether the alternative, as in NDC, is empty or not, whether they will still see the New Patriotic Party as a viable government to continue with its developmental agenda or otherwise. And so for us, we are not really throwing away what they put out. Yes, we may disagree with portions, but I'm saying that we're taking it as an advice. We are doing our internal arrangement as in electing our party officers. When we are done, we see whether the party is in good shape to reach out, to communicate, develop the necessary strategies to uplift Ghana from where we are.
Okay.
And then the decision will be on the majority of Ghanaians.
Right. Before I move on to the other guests, two quick questions for you. The first one, so does that mean that by and large, you're saying that some portions you may disagree with, but does that mean that by and large, you subscribe to this report? You accept its findings?
I said that when we are giving advice, take it in good faith. As and when it will be useful to you, you apply them. And I'm saying that it is not only what to come from EIU, the New Patriotic Party has these strategies. We take solid feedback, be it good or negative. And as a party, we are.
I'm just asking whether you accept. I get the point you're making. I get the point you're making, Mr. Nimako, but I just want to find out. So, do you accept? Because the report is by and large saying that you will lose in 2024. I'm just asking, do you accept this?
I've said consistently that we will go into the December 7, 2024 elections and we come out victorious. The New Patriotic Party is viable party, government, in all shapes and forms compared with the NDC as alternative. And I don't think the good people of Ghana will give the NDC mandate. That is why I disagree with you that we have a certain unwritten. No two elections are the same, and the dynamics that will play out in 2024 will give the New Patriotic Party victory.
Okay, my final bit to you for now, before I bring in Dr. Kobi-Mensah and Dr. Kwapong. So you look at the hydra-headed problems they point to, three major ones. They point to the fact that there has been dissatisfaction with the economic situation of the country. They paint the picture that there has been a slow pace of development, especially infrastructure development. And they also point to the fact that not enough has been done to stem the tide of corruption. When you look at the economic situation, the economists and those in the agri sector and others have also profited. In fact, if you look at the data coming from the international economic institutions, that next year, 2023, could be worse. When you look at all of this put together and you consider the points we're looking at, do you feel things are going to change that fundamentally? I'm just going back to the point you made that things can change between now and election day. Do you feel things are going to change that much ahead of election 2024 to put your party, the MPP, in a good stead as you go toe-to-toe with the NDC and other parties? Is Mr. Nimako still with us?
I'll say that in life, when you are confronted with problems, with challenge. Hello?
Yes, I can hear you. Please go ahead. I can hear you.
Hello? Yes. I mean, to respond to your question, in life, when you are confronted with challenges, you don't sit, you don't sleep. You look at viable solutions and involve doing proper consultations, aligning minds and energies that will address these challenges you have. It's important that as a government, you provide jobs for your people. You provide jobs for your hands that leaves institutions and are of major age to be engaged and work to transform and bring development to your country. So issues of employment has always been on the table anytime the government has to move the country to another level. It is not going to change. Issue of corruption lies in our mouth. And I can refer you to Mr. Domlovo before he even left the Auditor General, how he mentioned the support the government has given to these institutions that are responsible for fighting corruption. And so it's not just saying it in our mouth that the perception is high. You say it and it must be backed by data. As we speak, are we saying that Dr. Opuni, who is in court, should not be going to court because the government is not pushing the issue of corruption, the government is not fighting it? I don't think that is the point. Slow pace of development. World all over. And the data that because of COVID, supply chain was affected hugely. And Ghana is not an exception. And so when we are coming out of this situation, and you still want to tell me that because of the challenges the world is going through, in which Ghana is an exception, development will be jumping at that level. And you can see, even where you sit, some years back, the road in front of your office did not used to be like this. And the government is not sitting, the government is taking steps to overcome these challenges. That is why, for me, the development of collective system that will bring all on board to support what has to be done to develop Ghana is key. And we must all come on board and stop the doomsayers.
All right, let me bring in Dr. Kobi-Mensah. I don't know what your reading is, but we've heard from Yawabena Samoa, who has been saying that no country is immune to what has happened across the world in the last 2+ years. First of all, COVID-19, that scourge, and then the Ukraine-Russia, standoff, if you like. But in the midst of all of that, our economy is not doing well. People are reacting to that. They've showed their dissatisfaction in respect of that, in respect of the slow pace of development, and also in respect of that gargantuan problem, corruption. Listening to Evans Nimako, do you feel that the MPP, in fact, is taking the sort of counsel that he says, which could make them break the 8. What is your take?
Well, thank you for that. I think, yes, Evans had specifically stated that they would take it as an advice and then prepare. Obviously, when it comes to their acceptance of the situation on the ground, clearly every political party will pick and choose, how they analyze issues. And no one is doubtful, or no one is actually doubting that indeed, these, realities, i.e. COVID, as well as, the war in Ukraine, has an impact. In fact, if you say that, then of course you're not, living in a very real world. But of course, we would also refer the NPP and the kind of assertions they make, and compare that to the times of Professor Mills, obviously John Mahama. They also had situations. Obviously, there was a credit crunch in 2008 onwards. So whenever NPP is making comparisons and then comparing, the economy of the NDC era to them, they don't make mention of credit crunch. Credit crunch was absolutely terrible. The British economy was down, the American economy, the German economy was down. So many other economies were down. I particularly was affected, in credit crunch. I was, my company actually pulled off, and therefore we had to, look for a new job, in England. Now, obviously, in President Mahama's era, you had, Ebola, you had, Doomsor, etc. And so when you're making the comparisons in terms of economic performances, they rather will cite, problems that are actually affecting them today without citing problems that are affected previous governments, but make a point that they have actually performed better. Of course, I am not an economist to actually check the numbers and say whether they don't or not. But the point is that when you have said prior to COVID that you have had a very robust economy, you wouldn't expect a deterioration within a very short period. And that is exactly what has happened to us. And by the way, we know that during the COVID period, most countries, including our country, had actually received support from IMF, from World Banks, from global institution, multinational, development partners, for example. Exactly. Now, we haven't actually had an account, and so it speaks to good governance, for example. A lot of institutions have questioned, transparency. We've had, terrible, relationship with the media. These issues are not COVID affected, are not COVID, related, are not, Ukraine related. So yes, I can understand a part of the economy has been affected by these. But what about the things, the social issues, the other issues that are not, within the realms of these particular realities? What is the government answer to that? And that is why they will talk about, governance issues. They will talk about corruption issues, because there have been a lot of references to corruption, which we have seen the government not pursuing, frankly. And so when you're painting the picture, I think it is fair to the people to let the people understand where the difficulties are and where you could have performed or you could have delivered and haven't delivered. And then be candid to admit that indeed you haven't actually delivered on these areas. And then give us a roadmap, how these areas are going to be solved. Currently, we're saying that it looks like there is doomsor. The government keeps rejecting that there is no doomsor, but people are experiencing it. Where is the transparency? Is there doomsor or not? Must people prepare for the worst? You have to be clear in your communication rather than trying to propagate things that aren't, there. So for me, yes, I accept Evans's position that indeed the economy had actually taken a bashing as a result of COVID, as a result of Ukraine, no doubt about it. But the other issues that we expect government to be forward-looking with us, to be forthright with us, we haven't actually had it so. And so people have a cause to be concerned. And these are some of the points that we're actually making. And then, of course, the idea that you would criticize someone who, again, also experienced, some of these difficulties, but then in your case, you pick and choose and say, you have performed better, as if nothing happened in their era. I think that is very unfair, and that is disingenuous.
The report also says that there is a great likelihood that the NDC could win or that the NPP would lose in 2024. But there's a caveat. And the caveat is that the NDC to win would have to wean itself of a certain John Dramani Mahama, that he is not a viable candidate. What is your take on that?
I think that session is very weak because, as we all know, and John actually pointed out the performance of the NDC as a candidate in 2016 and 2020 election. There's a huge, jump from that particular, two performances. And so when you're making an assertion, you would expect to put it in context. I mean, if you have seen a dwindled performance, then you would actually argue that perhaps it's not a viable candidate, it's not electable. This is a huge performance, given the two elections. So on what basis would you actually assume that? Granted that perhaps you have actually spoken to people and there's a popular sway of opinion that they have to be, the former president has to be changed. Then of course we expect you to give us the figures. For example, if you can actually point to a popular opinion that says that yes, X number of within NDC, they would want to see a new candidate. Then you've got to give us the numbers and you've got to let us see the evidences of your methodology. But then you cannot, come out with your own opinion and say that you would expect them to inject a fresh candidate without any solid, basis for that. I think that is completely, weak, so to speak. I would expect a very robust, debate, a very robust argument, supporting that position, but I don't see that.
All right, Dr. Kwapong, same question to you. Is Mahama viable for the NDC? He polled some 6.5 million votes in the last election, and barring, if he is not, where would the NDC go? Who else would be viable for them at a time like this? Who could go toe-to-toe with the sort of people that we have the premonition will be contesting on the side of the MPP, the likes of Alan Chemanting, the likes of Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia, among others?
I don't think I accept the premise that the former president, John Dramani Mahama, is not a viable candidate for the NDC going into the 2024 election. One of the things that I looked at going into the 2016 election, one of the key indicators that I looked at was the trajectory of his approval rating as president, for example. So if you look at round 6 of the Afrobarometer report, which occurred during his tenure in office, his approval rating hovered around the mid 30s. I think it was about 34%. But by the time CDD Ghana did the first pre-election survey in July 2016, his approval rating was around 48%. And then by the time they did the October pre-election survey in 2016, his approval rating had reached about 53. For the first time, he had broken the 50% mark. Yes, I don't think there was enough time to keep stemming some of those losses and the challenges that his government had faced, therefore leading up to the loss in 2016.
Right.
I also think that if you look at some of the key surveys, for example, from the National Commission for
Dr. Kwapong, just hold for me briefly. Let me do this. Sami Jemfi is Director of Communications with the NDC. Sami Jemfi, a very good morning to you. Hello? Do we have Sami Jemfi on the line?
Yes, I'm on the line.
Okay, Sami, just give me a minute. I want to conclude with a quick remark from Dr. Kwapong, and I'll be with you in just about a minute, if you will oblige me.
Sure.
All right, thank you very much. Dr. Kwapong, please go ahead.
Right, so if you look at the NCC and some of the other pre-election surveys in 2016, compared to 2020. I always say that the incumbent in 2016 going into re-election faced a much more difficult, challenging political landscape than what some of these surveys and opinion polls were showing in 2020. But at the same time, again, if you look at his performance in the 2020 election, I don't see why anybody would describe him as not being a viable candidate for the NDC. I don't know who is going to sort of throw in their hat in the NDC primary when the time actually comes around.
Okay.
But I don't accept that premise that he's not a viable candidate for the NDC for 2020.
Thank you, Dr. Kwapong. Just hold for me. Sami, so Director of Communications with the NDC, Sami James, joins the conversation. First off, the EIU has got it wrong sometimes, and it has got it right sometimes. In respect of this specific report, how do you take it? Do you accept the findings of the EIU's report?
Well, their findings, specifically their baseline forecast for the 2024 general elections, aligns with our own expectations and analysis of the situation in the country as far as the 2024 general election is concerned. So it doesn't come as a surprise to us at all that Ghanaians are disillusioned and disenchanted with the mismanagement of the economy by the Akufo-Addo administration in the last 5 years. They are tired of their corruption, the nepotism, the waste of the public purse, the state of lawlessness and exclusivity, and bad governance in our country, and are yearning for a change. And so we know that come 7 December 2024, the NDC will be victorious in the presidential and parliamentary elections. And this prediction by EIU aligns with that expectation of the party. It hasn't come as a surprise to us at all. Yes, the EIU has in time past gotten some of their predictions wrong, but in most cases they've had their predictions right as far as Ghana is concerned.
Does that mean, Sami James, that you subscribe to this report, that you think that weighing it, looking at the strengths and the weaknesses, you think by and large it's a report that is representative of what would or could happen in 2024?
Yeah, like I said, it's a report that reflects or corroborates our own expectations and assessments of the situation on the ground. And so my answer to your question is yes, it reflects the general political climate in Ghana today. Ghanaians are yearning for change. Ghanaians are yearning for the return of the NDC because they know that it is only under an NDC government that they will see true development and progress again. And so we agree with their baseline forecast for the 2024 elections. In time past, we have disagreed with some of their predictions, even though they've been vindicated at the end of the day, like it happened in 2016 and 2020. So they are a reputable political risk analyst organization that we respect. We are going through the report. Whatever useful lessons that we need to draw from it, we shall do so. And but let me make the point that we are not going to be complacent at all because EIU has predicted victory for us. We are putting our destiny in our own hands, and we're going to work hard to make sure that we win the 2024 election resoundingly.
Right. Do you then also accept the report, because it's a double-edged sword? It says the MPP likely will slip out of power and you likely will take over, but not with President or former President Mahama. How do you react to that?
That is false, and that is a misreporting.
So Sami, let me just get this clear. I'll let you go on, but let me get it clear. You think it's okay when the report says that based on the economic hardship, poor development and corruption, this government will slip out of power. But when it adds the preamble that you need someone apart from Mahama. That one is false?
I am saying that what you are saying is false, not what EIU has said, because what you are saying is not contained in the EIU report.
But it says that you would need a candidate other than.
Can you allow
okay,
me?
So
there is
go on.
Paragraph contained in the EIU report we are discussing that says that the NDC cannot win power with President Mahama. There is no such caveat. There are no such ifs or buts or conditions to the baseline forecast of the EIU for the 2024 elections. And what you just said, what you just asked me, is a misreporting by the Ghanaian media, because I have taken time to read the report. And in no part of that report did the EIU say that the NDC running with President Mahama as flag bearer for the 2024 elections is a no, we can't win.
Okay, so let me read out to you.
Read the portion,
it is actually on the screen, but let me read this to you and see how you will interpret it.
I'm coming to that, because I know what.
So can I do the reading and you just respond to it, please? Is that possible?
Sure.
All right. So it says the next parliamentary and presidential elections are due in 2024 under constitutionally mandated term limits. As we know, the incumbent president, Mr. Akufo-Addo, cannot run for a third term. The former president, John Mahama, is reportedly considering running again, but we expect the opposition NDC to try to revitalize its prospects with a fresh candidate. How do you assess that? Is that a departure from what I'm saying?
What you read, what is in it that says that the NDC cannot win power with President Mahama?
It says you should come out with they expect you to come out with a fresh candidate.
First of all, when you read their baseline forecast, which is the foundation of their prediction, they predicted that the MPP will lose power to the NDC. And that is without any ifs or buts or conditions. It is unconditional. They are saying that power will change.
The condition, Sami, is that you need a fresh candidate.
Conclude what I'm saying, because you keep cutting in. Let me just conclude the point I'm making. But when you come to what you just read to us, they are saying that they expect, it's an expectation, they expect the NDC to revitalize. That is the word. Revitalize its prospect by fielding a fresh candidate. What they are basically saying is that, look, we have found that the MPP will lose power in 2024. But we think the NDC will do better with a fresh candidate than with President Mahama. That is the right interpretation of what they have said. And that is not the same as saying that the EIU has predicted that John Mahama cannot win power for the NDC, or the NDC cannot win power if it runs with John Mahama. The two are not the same. Their forecast, their baseline forecast is that power will change and the MPP will lose to the NDC. And that is without any conditions. They have only said that they expect us to revitalize our prospects so that we can do better in that election with a fresh candidate. A prediction or a suggestion or an expectation we disagree with, because as I've already explained to you, the NDC will win the 2024 election regardless of who leads the party. And also, as I have explained on other platforms, John Mahama, in my humble opinion, is our surest bet, relative to winning 2024. He got 1.5 million votes, if more, in 2020 than he got in 2016.
Right.
And therefore, it cannot be true that with John Mahama, the NDC will be disadvantaged.
All right. So it's interesting that you suppose that, what you're saying is the right one and that everyone else is giving it a twist. But let's move on from there. So you feel, Sami, that as far as the EIU's report stating that to revitalize your prospects, you may want to consider changing the representative of the party, aka the flag bearer, that will have no consequence on your electoral fortunes in 2024, as per this report.
I'm saying that is an expectation of the EIU, a suggestion they have made for our consideration. I do not subscribe to that suggestion because I think the NDC will have a better chance at winning the 2024 election if it runs with John Dramani Mahama. Currently, there is nobody in the NDC who stands a better chance of winning the 2024 election for the NDC than John Dramani Mahama, a man who won 1.5 million votes more than he did in 2016. For God's sake, the man won over 6.5 million votes in the 2020 elections, with all the vote buying, with all the abuse of incumbency that we saw the ruling government deploy in the 2020 elections. And so I totally disagree with that suggestion from the IU that our prospects of winning 2024 will be revitalized. I think that our prospects would rather be destroyed if we make the mistake of changing President Mahama. And that is a position that the rank and file of our party, and I dare say majority of Ghanaians, hold. Because on whose track record will we be prosecuting the 2024 campaign? John Dramani Mahama's track record. And who better to lead that campaign than the man who is responsible for that track record? You understand? And so we disagree with that suggestion, but that is not the same as the position that some Ghanaian media houses, have taken on this particular suggestion by the EIU. And the report they have put out there, that the EIU is saying that the NDC cannot win with John Mahama. They've not said so in their report, and there is no portion of this report that you can read to me that says so.
Sami, let's move the conversation forward. I disagree with you, but let's move the conversation forward. We don't have to agree on everything. The next point, your counterpart on the MPP side, I'm talking about Yabwa Benasamwa, has said that we're not facing anything that the rest of the world is not facing. In terms of our economy, for example, we're grappling with COVID-19, the Russo-Ukrainian war. And so he says on the back of that, the MPP will do the right things, and come 2024, they'll beat you again. Put that side by side with the fact that pollster Ben Efson is saying that should the NDC lose in 2024, your party will literally implode. How do you react to these two?
Well,
and did Ben Efson get it right?
No, as for what Ben Efson is saying, I will not really pay attention to that because the NDC is not going to lose 2024, and so I don't want to discuss what he has put out.
He's a pollster. He's a pollster, and he's got, just like the EIU, he's got it right quite a number of times.
And he's saying that if we lose, our party will implode. I'm saying we are not going to lose. And so his prediction that our party will implode doesn't even come in. But the point I'm making, what I want to make firstly has to do with what you claim Yabwa Biansamoah has said on your show, that the economy is doing badly because of COVID-19 and the Russian-Ukrainian war. Nothing could be far from the truth, because even before COVID-19, our economy was in a mess. And the country director of the World Bank to Ghana, Mr. Laporte, has said so, that even before COVID, our economy was in a very bad state. COVID only took advantage of the negative underlying conditions of our economy. Because before COVID-19, in 2019, the Ghana cedi had depreciated by 12.9%, almost 13%, the highest in recent time. And government had even constituted a team to investigate reasons why the cedi was depreciating. Coincidentally, ironically, it was COVID, which rather slowed down economic activity across the world and helped the cedi to gain some stability. That is why in 2020, the cedi only depreciated by 3.8%, whereas it had depreciated by 13% in 2019. So you cannot blame COVID for the depreciation of the cedi. Again, before COVID, we had recorded a budget deficit of 7%. And that figure is contained in government's own documents, the documents they presented to the IMF for the $1 billion rapid credit facility. What that means is that even before COVID, we had been very reckless in our expenditures, and we had exceeded the allowable threshold of 5% deficit as provided for in the Fiscal Responsibility Act that this government itself passed even before COVID. Even before COVID, debt to GDP had hit 65%, and that is clearly unsustainable. So you cannot blame our economic woes on COVID when the evidence shows that even before COVID, our economy was in a bad position. Check what is accounting for the excruciating hardships Ghanaians are going through today. One major factor is inflation. And by inflation, I'm talking about food inflation, which is currently hovering around 19%, 20%. Why is the price of cassava going up? Why is the price of Gary going up, the price of a bag of maize, kukunte going up. Is it because of COVID-19? Definitely no. And you can't also blame that on a war that started 1 month, 3 weeks, or barely 2 months ago. Because even before that war, the price of building materials like cement, iron rods were already skyrocketed. And a ranking member for the MPP on the Parliament's Finance Committee, Honorable Kweku Kwase, had already called on Parliament to investigate why building prices were going up at such an astronomical rate. And that was before the Russian-Ukrainian war commenced. Before that war, which commenced on 24th February 2022, the price of a gallon of diesel and petrol had gone up by more than 100%, really, as compared to 2016, from 16 Ghana cedis a gallon to 33 Ghana cedis, even before the war began. And so government should stop making flimsy excuses for their own failings. We are in the current economic quagmire we find ourselves because of their excessive borrowing and reckless expenditures, particularly in 2020. That is what has accounted for this. And so blaming our economic woes, the hardship Ghanaians are going through on COVID-19 and a war that commenced only 2 months ago will not wash. Ghanaians are discerning and they know better.
All right. Just to wrap on this, Sami, so I can let go of you and get to the other guests as well. And thank you so much, Dr. Kobi-Mensah, Dr. Kwapong, and Evans Nimako for holding for me. I have to let go of you, Sami, but I just want you to do this before you go. So the choice of a running mate has also come into the fray. Ben Efson says it will be crucial for you as a party, and it's important because some have forecast what could happen. So I just want to find out from you, what are the prospects of the NDC when it comes to a running mate? Very quickly.
Well, we have not gotten to that stage yet.
Right.
We are currently reorganizing the party.
We see former President Mahama going round a lot with Professor Dada Jane Opoku-Agyeman. Is that indication that you're going to stick with her?
We have not even chosen a flag bearer yet. And so the conversation about who is likely to be our running mate is respectfully very premature.
All right.
It's not something that I'm willing to discuss.
Sami Gyamfi, thank you so much for joining the conversation this morning.
Thanks for having me.
All right. Let me come immediately to Evans Nimako. Evans, thank you so much for holding patiently. I just wanted to digest a few issues from the end of the opposition as well. So when you hear Sami Gyamfi say things like they are going to win, come what may, in 2024, and that for them they are sticking to what the report says, that your party has become unpopular, you will lose out in 2024. How do you react to that?
Well, thank you. I think that everything that has to be said on the part of NDC is what Mr. Sami Gyamfi has communicated to the world. Their level of intolerance you've seen, when it comes to this time round, he will take part of the EIU reports and the other side he will ignore. I'm surprised that the leadership of NDC will not even allow internal democratic principles to reign. You know what? They all seem to be imposing Mr. Mahama on the party. I expected that for where he sits as the communications officer will not show any sign of support to any of the prospective candidates who want to be their presidential candidate. In the light of what EIU has come out, I'm seeing whether the NDC will be bold enough to go for the Harney ticket, or they will go for Mr. Kwabnado or they will go for Kudu Bunsu. But that is their own cup of tea. They are entitled to whatever they want to do. But for us as New Patriotic Party, we're saying that, yes, EIU will definitely come up with 10 reports. We are expecting that soon the CDD will also publish theirs. Dr. Mensah will continue with his critique and come out with his position on his views on how, for him, the data support Ghana must trend. But just to bring your mind to it, in 2020, Mr. Mahama did not obtain 6.5 million votes. He only made 6.2 million. It is Nanado Danko Kufuado who made 6.7. Yes, you see that John may have made some huge jump from where he came from in 2016. By looking at it, John the president.
Does that jump scare the MPP? Does it scare the MPP, the jump that was made in 2020?
His own elections. That's why I'm telling you that no two elections for me are the same. And I'll only take it from Mr. Samije's view, is not in terms of electoral figures and the conduct so astute. And so I'll give it to him. But I can assure you that the report of the EIU did not give the NDC too much of clean slate. It says that if they will be able to revitalize, then you won't take it. Is the NDC prepared to change Mr. Mahama or not? They are not going to change Mr. Mahama. From the conversations of all their officers, it looks like they are still imposing Mr. Mahama on them. For us, in Patriotic Party, we are reorganized. And I'm saying that, yes, it appears difficult the world all over. Ghana needs to be on the drawing board. The perspective of NDC, just about 2 months ago, was for Ghana to go to IMF. When we were confronted with COVID, the decision, the policy direction of NDC, we all saw in Ghana.
Evans, it is interesting that you bring in this point, because guess what? The EIU itself is saying that Ghana will benefit, that it's probably our best option to go the way of the IMF. It's interesting you bring it, because the same report we are referencing says that it would do us well to go the way of the IMF. So why counter what the opposition is saying?
So for EIU, this is their alternative position. For us as New Patriotic Party supporting the Adodankwa government, think that we can have homegrown solution. And that's exactly what we are doing. And for the NDC, they will always disagree. If you are telling me today, the UK economy, the US economy is doing so well in the midst of COVID, the Italian economy is doing so well, and that Ghana should be the only odd one, then I'm surprised. But I'm saying that in all these challenges, the government of Adodankwa keeps on working, keeps on finding alternative solutions to the challenges that we are confronted with. And so if you are telling me that, and Dr. Mensah mentioned, that we seem to be experiencing a bit of doom so, which has been discounted by the Minister of Energy in the last week mid-press discussion. We are not, as a party, saying that we have the wholesome solution to all the problems. And so we continue to engage. And I'm saying that, yes, for EIU, for what they've been picking, it appears, and it may be genuine, that some Ghanaians are having it tough. And the government has not run away from this position that it is difficult. That is why the government keeps on providing solutions that will address our challenges that we are going through. And so for me, I'm telling you with all confidence in me, and saying again that it doesn't lie in Mr. Sami Jemfi's mouth to say that they are winning. I hope for us, it will be the decision of the good people of Ghana based on the quality work delivery by the Adodankwa government. We've seen Mr. Mahama. It is on that basis that EIU, for me, thinks that for his management of Ebola, for his management of the financial crunch we got ourselves into, he is not a better option for Ghana as a president anymore. And therefore, we are not going into the 2024 election, even if they are bringing Mr. Mahama, even if they are bringing Harry Dusu or Dr. Kwamna before, the New Patriotic Party will be formidable enough to reach out to the voter and make the number of votes that will put us in government.
Very quickly, Evans, before I let go of you, I'm wrapping with you. I just want to find out. I just want to bring in something else we're going to be discussing. So the E-levy, I'm looking at the Daily Statesman this morning saying E-levy saboteurs at work. We know of the situation where on May the 1st, it may not come off because of this new motion at the Supreme Court. Is that how you see it, that the NDC is trying to sabotage the E-levy? I just want your quick take on that before I let go of you.
They never supported it. For NDC, their members of parliament, they run helter-skelter. They've done all engagement with their session of support base not to accept E-levy as a means to internally mobilize resources to alleviate the challenges that we're going through as a country. On the part of government, the appreciation is different. We think that we cannot always go cap in hand for loan. And therefore, for us, it may be, as has been described by others, as necessary evil, we must embrace it. And I can appreciate. Nobody appreciates paying taxes. And we've had the occasion of discussing E-levy on your platform. I'm saying that it's not everybody who will be mandated to pay E-levy. It's for those who access the platform. And if you do so, you have to contribute a quota, a small percentage to support development of Ghana. I don't think it will be out of place. My brother, the mobile phone you use, there are pay apps, and it's not every one of them that you access. So yes, for us, we must embrace it. For the NDC, I'm not surprised, but also our advice that though they filed the application, by my prayers, will not succeed. Ghana will have to develop. It will need all of us to come on board to contribute our quota to ensure that we get out of our difficulties.
Right.
If we keep on going to the IMF,
right,
it means that our debt to GDP is
I think that point is made, Mr. Nimako. Thank you so much for joining us for this very important conversation. We're grateful, sir, for your time.
Is that the way?
All right, that was Evans Nimako, Director of Research and Elections with the NPP. A quick take from Dr. Kobi Mensah and Dr. Kwapong as we wrap the conversation. So EIU says, go to the IMF. We heard the response of Evans Nimako. Put that side by side with what you've heard from both Evans and Sami Gyamfi. This is for both of you. I'll start with Dr. Kobi Mensah.
I think I would actually defer conversations on whether we should go or not to my colleagues in finance.
Okay.
Obviously, if Dr. Carpon has any idea on that, maybe he can prefer. But I would leave it to Professor Lord Mesa, Gachi, and Co. to actually answer that question.
Okay. So your quick take on the reactions from both Sami and Evans to wrap. These are the concluding comments.
But yes, when it comes to the report on Mahama, I think Sami was right. I mean, I have said that particular portion is an opinion, from from EIU, whether Mahama must be changed or not. It doesn't actually fall within the remit of the forecast, for example. And if it did, I mean, I would be surprised for them not to provide the reasons behind it. It is clearly an opinion that was actually stated, because if you say that you would expect them to try and revitalize, that does not come across as a research finding. So clearly, I agree that certainly is an opinion, but that is actually left to them alone. And with that opinion, you would expect a very solid, background, because opinions also have backgrounds. You have to actually demonstrate a compelling underpinnings, backing that particular opinion, but they didn't. So obviously, that is up to them.
Okay. Dr. Kwapong, to wrap the conversation off.
Well, I mean, I'm not surprised at the take of the two representatives, one from the MPP as well as from the NDC, in terms of their interpretation of the report and their takeaway of what the EIU report means. Yes, if no two elections are the same, as Mr. Nimako rightly said, but we've also gotten into this cycle of 8 years since the Fourth Republic. And so come 2024, it will just be very interesting to see the dynamics of that election and what happens. Of course, if you look at current conditions, nobody would dispute the fact that the incumbent party, even though the president is term limited, nobody would dispute the fact that the incumbent party is in a very difficult and challenging situation. But election is still 2 years away. And so we'll see what the dynamics look like in 2023 when we enter into 2024. At the end of the day, in terms of the economic situations and the extent to which that can be blamed or not be blamed on external circumstances like the war or COVID, I think ultimately the the voter is the one best positioned to make the final determination on that.
Okay.
And voters always vote on their bread and butter issues. It's the extent to which they feel it, regardless of the explanations you give.
Right.
Ultimately, the voters would make that decision come 2024 in terms of which of the competing narratives they buy into. But I think we are in 2022. 2 years is a long time in politics. And so we'll just keep watching, observing, and see what happens as we go along.
Well, we're grateful for your time this morning. Dr. Kwapon, of course, a Democracy and Development Fellow with the CDD. And, of course, Dr. Kopi Mensah, lecturer at the University of Ghana Business School. Gentlemen, we're so grateful. Thank you for joining.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Right. We take a bit of a breather and return with the second leg of our big stories as we contemplate the E-levy and whether it will come to us on the 1st, considering the motion filed by the NDC at the Apex Court. Do stay. We'll be right back. Welcome back. We will be getting Member of Parliament for North Tongue on the line to discuss the bit to do with the E-levy and the NDC's stance. But before that, we want to hear from you, especially on the back of the discussion we've had. We're contemplating, will it be politically prudent for the NDC to do away with former President John Dramani Mahama? Will it be prudent for them as the presidential candidate? Join us with your thoughts via social media and via phone as well. We'll be putting the phone number up on your screens shortly. We'd love to hear from you. When you share on social media, just add the hashtag AM Show on social media. But you can call that line 0302-211-691 extension 2. Very simple. 0302-211-691 extension 2. Do share your thoughts with us and let us know what you think. Will it be politically prudent, politically viable for the NDC to go into election 2024 without John Dramani Mahama? That is the question we're posing. Do share your thoughts with us. We'll be picking your messages on social media and also the phone calls that we're hoping you will bring to bear. And if you're wondering what has triggered this, it has to do with the EIU. In its latest report, and let me just give you the wording. They suggest that it would be prudent for the NDC going into election 2024, while they stand a reasonable chance of winning the 2024 elections, that they have a fresh candidate to revitalize its prospects. What do you think about that? We have Akonoba from Kumasi joining the conversation. Akonoba, good morning to you.
Good morning, my brother. How are you?
I'm very well. How are you?
I'm also fine. You're doing a good job.
Pardon me?
You are doing a good job.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Your questions are fantastic.
Thank you. What do you think about this? Should the NDC do away with John Mahama?
My brother, that one, how can that be possible? You see, the doctor that you were talking to was confused. You see, the best evidence to prove that someone is capable or not capable is the recent election. How much votes did John Mahama gain for NDC? And how much votes did President Akufo-Addo lost for NPP? So if you want a credible person now in NDC or in the opposition who can garner vote for the party to recapture power, it is John Mahama. So how can you approbate and reprobate? In one breath you say NDC is going to win the election. In another breath you say they may. So I should bring someone that is a fresher for Ghanaians to tell us that we don't know him, so we have to try him? Oh, my brother, I can't fathom it.
All right. Thank you, Akonoba from Kumasi. Right here in Achimota, we have Evans joining the conversation. Evans, good morning.
Yes, good morning.
What is your take on this matter? John Mahama for 2024 or not?
Regarding the issue at stake, I think of the two devils, that is my point of view, that is putting John Mahama and the candidate of any of the NPP candidates. It could be Dr. Bawumia, it could be Alan and Ekufuado. I see JM to be a better devil of them all. And I see JM to be the best candidate that for now NDC can put forth for the election. Because he has a track record, being it economic-wise, being it infrastructure, being it policy-wise and all those things. So I see him to be the best for NDC.
Right. Thank you for sharing your thoughts, Evans from Achimota. You can also call 0302-211-691 extension 2 and let us know what you are thinking. 0302-211-691 extension 2. I know a lot of you are trying to connect, but some of you are having challenges. So do try. Do keep trying. We'll also be picking some of your messages from social media as well. But the discussion, it's straightforward. The EIU, which has correctly and sometimes wrongly predicted Ghanaian elections, is saying the NDC is likely to win in 2024, but it needs a fresh face. Yakubu is in Bogoso. Yakubu, thank you for joining.
Please wait.
Hello, Yakubu. Good morning, Yakubu. Hello, Yakubu. Can you hear me?
Hello, good morning.
Good morning, Yakubu. What are your quick thoughts?
Okay. I want to say, though EIU they have projected their statement. Election is known by the mercy of God, not the front perception. Thank you.
Quickly, you say, so they've made their predictions, but what? All right. Let's do Simon in Brekum. Simon, good morning.
Yeah, hello.
Hi, Simon. Welcome aboard.
Yeah, good morning.
Good morning. How do you react to the EIU's analysis?
In fact, reacting to EIU analysis is like, I don't know what it is, but the whole thing is like, NDC is going to win this election. That's the general election with Mahama. You know why? Because in the last election, that's 2020 election, look at the number of votes and Mahama put for the NDC. Just look at the number of votes, almost 500,000. So why dump such a person and go and bring new face? Someone who is marketable, someone who has been accepted by majority of Ghana, it's the MPP. So why should we? But I think the EIU should rather go and investigate or do on Dr. Bawumia and how do you call it, Alan Cash. I think if MPP brings Alan Cash, it will be very difficult for NDC. But if they will bring Bawumia, it will be a cool job, forever cool job for NDC. Thank you.
All right, it'll be a cool job for him, man. Let's interact with Bright in Koforidia. Bright, good morning. Thank you for joining. Hello, Bright.
Yeah, hello.
Okay, so brighten our morning with your comments.
Yeah. So, what I would say is that I think...
Bright, you'd have to speak up. I can barely hear you.
Hello.
Go ahead, Bright.
Yeah, what I'm saying is that I think Ghanaians are going to vote based on the realities on the ground. And for me...
Wow, I am losing you, Bright. Hello? Hello, Bright? Hello? Okay, it appears we've lost Bright. 0302-211-691, extension 2. Suleimana joins the conversation from Zebela. Suleimana, what are your quick thoughts on this matter?
Yeah, good morning, my brother.
Good morning, sir.
Yeah, from the EU prediction, you know, our elder said the devil you know is better than the angel you don't know.
Right.
And for now, you realize that any other candidate the NPP is going to bring on board currently, and the most likely figures, either Alan Kiramanten or Dr. Bawumia or Dr. Akutu also say, it is better for Ghanaians to go in for John Mahama because already he has a track record. So.
Okay. Thank you for sharing your thoughts, Suleimana. We may take a few more calls, but let's look at Facebook now. Let's check out some comments that are coming through on social media and see what you've been saying there. Davies Nabala says, whether fresh candidate or whatever, JDM is coming back to make Ghana better again. Okay, so Ekrevu or whatever can keep their predictions to themselves. I think you mean the ECU. Right. So that is one comment on social media, on Facebook, to be specific, that has been sent through. This one is from Moses Aglina, who says, of course, unless you are a political novice, you will think John Mahama has something new to offer for which Ghanaians would give him another opportunity after he messed up. So that is Moses. So two contrary views. Nana Otre says, if not because most of these media houses, okay, so we'll go past that. K-Train Nana Kwame Mensah says, who in his right senses will change someone who had 6.2 million votes? Why is the MPP so scared of this man? And you say, why is media always happy to execute an agenda for people against Mahama? There is no agenda, I can tell you for certain. We just stick with the stories making the trends. Yasuto Zola says, this year agenda won't wash. JDM will be our candidate in 2024. In fact, he is already our candidate and will get, and we will win in 2024 with him. Any other candidate who challenges him will get less than 1%. So you disagree with what the EIU is saying. Let's go to some more calls for now. Alfred from Obuasi. Do we have Alfred? Good morning, Alfred. Alfred from Obuasi. Okay, so do we have Lighter in Takrady? Lighter. Is Lighter on the line? Okay, so it appears we've lost all of those on the line. Toti says, all right, let's go to Yaya. Complete facade. How can any credible research body suggest such a thing? They think they can deceive the NDC people to change JDM so things will elude them. The NDC even prefers to lose with JDM if it is so. That is Yaya. Openye Ampoma says, stop deceiving Ghanaians. There is nobody better and more experienced than Mahama. You can keep lying to Ghanaians, but we the citizens. Okay. That is the EIU with its own analysis. We'll see how things pan out because in the end, we all will vote in 2024 and determine who leads. Gideon is in Chado. Good morning, Gideon.
Yeah, good morning, sir.
How are you? Hope you're well.
I'm well.
Good.
Well.
What are your quick thoughts on this matter?
I think that the EIU, they have had their predictions right. But the point where they say that Mahama must be changed, if that is what they mean, I think that is unfortunate. Because we are looking at the candidates who had 6.2 million votes. That is, even if the calculations they have done is correct, in the last election, including, despite the ruling party machinations and all the things they have done, he has really given them the run for their money. So definitely it's the best bet going into any election.
Okay.
And so I think that definitely the NDC is going to win the next election.
All right. Thank you. Okay. Thank you. Thank you for sharing your thoughts. We have Essel from Sunyani. Essel, good morning.
Good morning. Please, how are you?
I'm very well. How about you?
I'm doing well.
Great. Your quick thoughts on this matter. John Mahama for 2024 or not?
Yes, I think this is not a starter. John Mahama is a done deal because let's see what's happening. Even government workers. If John Mahama was in power, we'll be having cola by now. I think the government has to do something about salary issues. Other than that, I don't think MPP is even ready to contest any election in the country again. They are doomed because workers are not happy. Look, you can't buy anything. And instead of you to solve our problems, you are giving us excuses here and there. Look, if they can rule, they should allow John Mahama to come back. We are just waiting for the election day to just do it quick. Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing your thoughts. We also have Maxwell, who connects with us from Kumasi. Maxwell, good morning. Hello, Maxwell. Hello, Maxwell.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning, Maxwell. Thank you for joining us. What are your quick thoughts on this matter?
Okay, so I think that for any political strategist, John Mahama should be the surest bet because we are talking about a man who got 6.2 million votes for the NDC. So we have another chance. We should bring such a man to come give us victory.
Okay.
I'm about this because why are they so scared of John Dramani Mahama? I tell you that there is something peculiar about this man, and we need to really bring him on board if we need victory. I think the rank and file of the NDC are hungry for power, and for us to get power, we should bring back John Dramani Mahama.
Thank you, Maxwell, for sharing your thoughts on this matter. Kankambwedu Samuel on our Facebook thread says, that's impossible. How can we ignore John Mahama? And that is, you say, from Domakwai Ejiso Dwaben. That is what you are sending through. You can still call that line, 0302-211-691, extension 2, and share your thoughts. We'll also be picking more of your thoughts on social media. We have Smiler on the line. Hello, Smiler. Hello, Smiler, good morning.
Good morning.
Where are you calling from?
From Kumbungu.
Kumbungu, right. What are your thoughts on this matter?
Yes, first off, the EIU report predicts the victory of the great NDC in the 2024 elections. That is made. With regards to candidate John Mahama, this is a candidate the NDC, the MPP, Hireto in the 2016 election said he would not get up to 1 million votes. What happened? He got over 6 million. The NDC and candidate John Dramani Mahama are desperate to get the MPP out of power and bring Ghana on board for all the developmental projects that we were witnessing prior to the coming into office of the MPP in 2016. So the EIU report, we first agreed that the NDC would win election 2024. We also have issues with the phrase or the clause in their report that the former President John Dramani Mahama, we should revitalize the prospects of the NDC by fielding a new candidate. It does not in any way say that the NDC will lose election 2024 with John Dramani Mahama. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing your thoughts, Smiler. On social media, Abisiga Ayebo Bismarck says, John Mahama is a sure bet, and we in the NDC are not going to risk changing him. That is another comment that comes through. You can still call 0302-211-691 extension 2. We're picking more of your calls and your reactions on social media. 0302-211-691 extension 2. We'll be picking more of your thoughts via the phone lines and also on social media. Let me see whether I can get a few more thoughts. Habib Adam says, that's impossible. How do we ignore John? So I think the trend for most of the responses is that John Mahama will be the best, the most viable candidate to challenge whoever the NPP would bring to bear from their end, be it Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia, Alan Tremating, or maybe, as others have even mentioned, Dr. Efriye Akoto. This one says, Pate Barry says, the NDC is afraid of Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia, and so they are dirtying his name anytime they get into the media space. Dr. Bawumia will show you your level come 2024. That is what you say. Efo Kobla says, it is obvious who the NDC will be putting forward. There is no other size, you say, if not JDM. The EIU report is out to just test the political opinions of the people of Ghana. Good exercise. That is what is shared there. So those are some of the thoughts that you've been sharing with us via our different portals, well, social media, and via the phone lines as well on this all-important matter. But like I have said, only time will tell how this goes, how the cookie will crumble. Mind you, the EIU based its findings on 3 crucial things. It is saying that the economic hardship, economic difficulties that we are all going through have made people lose confidence in this administration. 2, the lack of proper development, infrastructure and otherwise. And then 3, corruption in the country. And so those are what they have hinged their analysis on. But we've heard from you. Let's hear from the Member of Parliament for North Tongue on another crucial matter. It has to do with the motion that the NDC has brought to bear at the Apex Court. We're joined by Okujato Ablakwa, Member of Parliament for North Tongue. Honourable, thank you for joining the conversation.
Always a pleasure, Ben. How are you doing?
I'm well. I'm trying to
Good.
keep body and soul together. God is faithful. How about you?
Good to hear from you. I am well too, and let me wish you and all your viewers belated Happy Easter.
Right, same to you. Tell me, what exactly prompted this move? When I look at the headline in the Daily Statesman, it says, E-levy saboteurs, in quote, at work. So let me ask, why are you, Mahama Ayariga, and Haruna Idrisu trying to sabotage the E-levy? It's been passed into law. Why now?
Well, thank you, Ben. Good morning to everybody. We are not saboteurs. We are nationalists. We are patriots. We represent constituents. We represent the good people of Ghana. The good people of Ghana have expressed very, very strong reservation. We are totally misaligned with government on this matter. Right. They do not want the E-levy passed. Look, as recent as yesterday, the Chamber of Telecom issued a statement warning that this E-levy will spell doom, that it's not even right to be, allowing this unconstitutional E-levy to affect people's salary. Look, industry players talk to Momo vendors. Already the Bank of Ghana has warned about how it has led to total, disinterest in financial inclusion measures. You're seeing all the massive withdrawals, people moving away from electronic transactions, and all the efforts successive governments have embarked on towards financial inclusion, towards a digital economy, a cashless economy. All of that appears to be going down the drain because of this unconstitutional and obnoxious E-levy. So we are saying that what happened on the 29th of March is a constitutional nullity. It's null and void. It's no effect. It is illegal because only 136 MPP MPs purported to have passed the E-levy. It cannot hold. Under Article 1041 of the Constitution of Ghana, 1992, the threshold is half. The decision-making threshold is half. And the Supreme Court has held in the Justice Abdullahi case on the 9th of March that half is 138. And you'll recall that in that same Supreme Court judgment, the court held that when 137 NDC MPs purported to have rejected the budget, the 2022 budget, on that fateful day, the 26th of November 2021, it was an exercise in futility. It's null and void because we didn't meet the 138 threshold. So if 138 is the threshold, how is it that 137 could not take a decision, could not reject the budget, but 136 can? I mean, it's ridiculous.
So tell me.
So that is a substantive case we have filed on the 30th of March to declare that sham, that charade, that ridiculous nullity that took place on the 29th of March in Parliament. We want the Supreme Court to enforce its jurisdiction and to really set that aside. Okay, now,
so very quickly on this.
What we have done yesterday, after we filed that case on the 30th of March, we have been waiting for a hearing. You know that when you file, the hearing date is now out of your hands. It is for the Chief Justice, the Registrar, to empanel and to set a date, to give you a date to appear. We have been waiting for that. Then we realized that the Minister of Finance has announced that 1st May is implementation date. Then we see that plans are afoot, and hurriedly the GRA has put out notices that they are going to implement the E-levy, the unconstitutional obnoxious E-levy on the 1st of May. So we don't want to sit on our rights. We don't want to keep waiting and then 1st May comes, implementation begins. And remember that once this unconstitutional implementation starts, it's going to be very difficult for Ghanaians to get back their money.
Okay, so you're seizing the initiative to do it before that happens, right?
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
All right. I just want to find out very quickly from you, if you can do this in some 15 seconds. You are saying that this will not cause any irreparable damage or inconvenience if the GRA holds on till the 4th when we can have some clarity from the Apex Court. But we know that we've kept the E-levy for a long time. Don't you think that will do some damage to government's economic situation?
Not at all.
Okay.
Already remember that our resistance has been for some 5 months now. Government had planned originally to begin implementation on the 1st of February.
Okay.
So if government can wait to this point, a few days, just 3 days. So look, government has no choice in this matter. The GRA must wait, else they will be in contempt.
Mr. Ablakwa, thank you.
Everybody must wait for the 4th.
Thank you so much. We'll have to leave it here. Member of Parliament for North Tone, Samuel Okujeto Ablakwa. Now, to wrap, did you know that the income of a young entrepreneur from some selected businesses is exempt from tax for 5 years? Any young entrepreneur engaged in manufacturing, information and communications technology, agro-processing, energy production, waste processing, tourism and the creative arts, horticulture and medicinal plants does not need to pay income tax on these activities for their first 5 years of operation. A young entrepreneur engaged in business that enjoys an initial 5-year concession benefits from the following applicable tax rates for an additional 5 years. Accra and Tema 15%, other regional capitals outside the 3 northern regions 12.5%, outside the other regional capitals 10%, and for the 3 northern regions 5%. For further clarity and information, reach out to your nearest GRA office, Ghana Revenue Authority, Integrity, Fairness and Service. And that's how we wrap the AM show with me, Benjamin Akakpo, for this Wednesday morning. Have a good day.